right here, I've already created one vaccination. I've administered it. It changes the whole row, and now you can actually add an adverse reaction to it. So this whole front end is in Angular, and you can see that, well, I can't change stuff anymore. However, since I am an administrator and I have full privileges on the modules, I can go ahead and enable retroactive data entry, which allows me to go in and change records, even if they are quite old. We did leave an ability to edit the record even for non-privileged people within the first 5 minutes of once it has been entered. So this is all standard parts of the info. For we have a location. So this is fake data, by the way, but yeah. So we have a location here and your course number. So this is the first, obviously, item in the course, and then there is the dose, units, routes. We have a specific route to body site mapping. Some are drops in case of oral. Oral, then really you don't get to select the body site or the site, right? Because they just consume it. So manufacture dates and are related to the actual lot of the vaccination. So this is whenever vaccination was manufactured, and ideally it should be sometime in the past, and the expiry date should be sometime in the future. So quickly, we can go ahead and administer one, I guess. It is not really restrictive on which ones you are able to administer or not. So I'm just going to go ahead and administer an oral polio vaccine. So as you can see, there's a number of things that I can change, even though a lot of them are populated by default. So in our case, we know that they're in drops and they're going to be consumed orally. Now, if we did change the route to, for example, intranasal, you would be able to administer it on. If it was like an injection, then you could select the forearm and the side. Now I'm just going to set it back to oral. We have a pre-populated set of manufacturers. Both scheduled vaccines can be changed. It's not hard-coded. It's all within the database. Any vaccine can be created as a scheduled vaccination and become a part of this list. So even though we did work on this and created this for very flexible and can be scaled up or down in terms of how many vaccinations are scheduled and are being tracked. So I'm just going to create a lot number. Set the manufacture date to sometime in the past and expire date in the future. And we can go ahead and administer it. So just get a notification. If there were an error, you would see a different indicator there within their description. So even though I've administered and you can see that this is now with a check mark, you can see there is a difference and there is a history here. So we've introduced an audit backlog, an audit log. And all it does, it tracks all the changes that have been made to a vaccination details. So if I were to go ahead and edit oral polio right now, it would get logged. So this is just for the auditing purposes and to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. So for example, in this case, I edited a vaccination. It shows who did it at, the explanation for them. There is a set of, I will just show you. There is a set of reasons that you can select. So for example, these are very simple. If it was actually expired and expiry date properly or got the month wrong, you can just select this. If you want to write comments, you would just select other and go for it and update the vaccination. It actually allows you to entirely unadminister this and roll back the whole thing into unadministered state. And I'll just do that. And so now it's back to being due, as you can see, but there is still that log, right? So it shows that I unadministered that particular vaccine. Okay, so let's quickly add an adverse reaction here to just show you. So there is a grade for adverse reaction. Basically, it goes from 1 to 5, 5 being most severe. 4 would be patient needed resuscitation. So let's say and I'll serve that. Okay, so now we can actually see that there was a problem. A patient had an adverse reaction to that particular vaccine. This will allow us to track basically what kinds of lots caused an adverse reaction and so on and so on once we plug in the reporting into this module. Okay, so that's it for the scheduled vaccinations. There is now this part that you've probably noticed. It basically contains all of the vaccinations that that our clinics track. Again, this new vaccinations can be added to this. Interface for that, but one could be created if this became a requirement ever. So once you've selected a particular vaccination that you wanted to administer, all of these ones come with the certs. So if you were to select, well, let's say tetanus toxoid and book it, there's already a set of items that we know are related to this vaccine. So we know it's an injection and so on. However, we do allow a completely custom vaccine to be entered. So we would provide no name, nothing, and a person can enter entirely all of the information from scratch, entirely new. Okay, so let's quickly book a vaccination since we're here. So just schedule a date sometime at the end of the month here. Okay, let's put a dose of 1. And we will book a vaccination. So now the vaccination is booked. However, it doesn't show up as part of scheduled, but you can see an unscheduled vaccination being here. We call them unscheduled in the sense that they're not part of a vaccination schedule for any given child, any given person. So that's it for scheduled and unscheduled vaccinations. We also have a vaccination tab for each particular person. So let's select this very John Doe. We will be able to see all of their vaccinations in a separate tab on their screen. So you will need to go through the whole vaccination process per se. So go ahead and John Doe here. Okay, so that is it for my presentation. There's still a bunch of to-dos for us as far as this module is concerned. To have an interface for simply adding new manufacturers faster, because our clinical clients have requested that they get a lot of new manufacturers, and they don't have time to go through the process of contacting us, adding them to the database, and then going back and providing them with the updated database setting. So that is it. Any questions? Hello?
Hi. Yeah, hi, this is great. This is Ada. This is wonderful. I would like to know if you can walk us through how we can add a new vaccine options to the predefined list. That'd be great.
So right now there is no interface.
Oh, okay.
You cannot vaccine and enter everything you wanted. We don't have, unfortunately, an interface to actually create a whole scheduled vaccine per se. So you would have to actually have someone access the database and do that for you backend.
Okay, thanks. And I also have another question.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have another question. Sorry. So let's say that some of the vaccines will require more than one vaccination. So let's say that it has like booster 1, booster 2, after the initial one. Do you calculate the schedule administration based on the last administered date, or based on the patient's age to do the schedule administration?
So we've approached the long discussion about that with our doctors. And so if you look at this particular schedule, and you can see items to be administered on, all of these, at this point in time, they are not stored anywhere in the database, for example. So they are calculated based on the patient age. For example, the doctor has told me that the indication, well, the time that's best to administer BCG vaccine is between birth and 1 year. And so following that means a patient needs to be almost immediately vaccinated, at least in our eyes, right? We did provide the capability to reschedule that. So this is sort of like a recommendation, right? There is a ton of use cases or potential combinations. For example, according to the doctors, if an oral polio vaccine course is actually stopped in the middle, so let's say they've done number 1 and number 2 here, and if it's stopped and then they didn't get the other 2, they almost need to take it from scratch, from the beginning, in order for it to be effective. And so with all these use cases, I decided that we would go for a simpler approach and give them the capability to reschedule these while still providing this initial kind of structure, right? That one can follow without much effort. But if a patient has a serious case where they were vaccinated with polio, but then they missed the other 3, and then they actually need to go and get number 1 first. Sorry, you were saying something? Basically, we just went and said, well, we'll provide them with the capability to see the whole course and have the machine system schedule it automatically for them. But then if they actually have entirely, and then they can just reschedule these according to patients' needs. Do that make sense?
Yeah. This is really, actually, this is awesome, because it is quite complicated. So it's really nice to see how much work you guys have done already.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'd encourage you, if you haven't, to make sure there's a wiki page for the module and try to get the module posted into the module repository so other folks can play with it. Unfortunately, we've got a lot of topics to cover, so we're going to have to move on. Folks can use the notes page. I've linked it on in the chat. If you have additional questions or want to kind of have some conversation back and forth, that will be persisted in our wiki after the call. So it's also helpful for future reference. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. Great module. Great work.
Thank you.
Barry and Ryan, are you ready to present?
Well, my co-part Barry isn't here yet. I think he'll be signing on in the next.
He's here.
Oh,
he was muted. I unmuted him.
Oh, there he is. Okay, perfect.
I can't get any video though to share screen or what.
Oh well, only one screen can be shared at a time. So.
Right, but I don't see anything because it.
It just stopped sharing. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. And is it possible to record the screen?
I am recording it. We do have 3 topics today, so we need to try to scope this to maybe 10 to 15 minutes max.
Okay, great. So Ryan, you want to go for it?
Sure, let's get going. Okay. So my name is Ryan, and I developed this module, Visit Notes Analysis, or as it's titled for the talk, the Word Cloud of Notes, as a master's project at San Francisco State University. But it was motivated by the fact that OpenMRS does have support for these free text visit notes that the physician or any clinician will can enter about a patient, and you can search those notes. So if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can use the chart search interface to find, say, instances of pneumonia or vaccines or what have you. But there wasn't much support for visualizing the content of those notes or summarizing those notes or getting a feel for what kinds of topics or what kinds of treatments or drugs or diseases or whatnot come up frequently in the notes. And there may be information hopefully there's not information in these notes that isn't recorded elsewhere in the data model, but in the case that there is, then we would want a way to to interact with it. So I guess I can just start by, let me share my screen. Share screen. Oh, I need to add the extension. I'm sorry about this. I'm adding an extension now to my browser. Okay, is my screen being shared?
It's loading.
Okay. Oh.
Okay, I can see it now. Yeah. That's a neat screen to share.
Version. Okay, I think, is this better?
Yep.
Okay, so
How do you?
so what our module did? Yeah. Okay, is my screen being shared? Are we all set?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this module, it's already up in the module repository, and there's a wiki page with some run-throughs on how it works. But the gist of it is, as visit notes are being submitted by a user, it runs a couple of natural language processing algorithms over the text of the notes in order to extract medical concepts. And then it records those medical concepts and renders them in a way that you can interact with it, or that you can sort of drill down into which notes contain which concepts and what frequency. So we can go through an example. I already have this module loaded into my local installation. So here's, we have John D. patient, and I cleared all of his visit notes. So we're going to enter a few notes for him. And I have these notes canned for the presentation. But this note reads, the patient is a 63-year-old female with long-standing history of polycythemia, etc. So the note is entered, and you have to give it a diagnosis. So save. So there's one note. We'll enter a couple so we can see the full features. Here we're saving note number 2. Save. And note number 3. And each of these notes contains references to diseases or problems, treatments, and tests that were undertaken. And our module will find those, and then we'll see how it presents them in a second. Okay, so we have 3 visit notes saved for this patient. And then in order to access our module, we have the little button here under the general action, so visit notes analysis. So when we click here, we're brought to this interface that sort of summarizes the content of the notes. At the very top, we have this word cloud where we see words are color-coded by their category. So problems are in red, treatments are in green, there's nephrectomy, and tests are in blue. So an ultrasound, tomography scan, follow-up examination. And if you say you're interested in the notes where respiratory insufficiency was mentioned, you can click here on the word cloud, and it'll highlight down here in this document list documents that contain this term. So each of these rows in this list is a document. So here's the date of the document. It's both today because I submitted them today. But we already see that in this document, they mentioned chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and then respiratory deficiency, and we can click through and see where in the document this thing was mentioned. So respiratory insufficiency, when we click, here is the document being rendered along with the different problems that were inside of this document. Now, right now, because we clicked on respiratory insufficiency and it's a problem, we're filtering for problems in the text. But we can filter for the different for different term classes, like treatments. There don't happen to be any treatments in this document, nor tests. But if we look at if we open up all the filters and look at everything, we can see that in this document above, we have all kinds of concepts. So we have treatments, we have problems up here in red, treatments down here in blue, and then the treatments in green, excuse me, and tests in blue. So these filters allow us to look through all the documents and look through the concepts mentioned inside of them. And you can click through and see the context. And here we have all 3 concept classes in this document, and they're all coded appropriately. So I guess that brings up a question: how are these concepts extracted from the text? Well, one of the first issues we wanted to cover, or one of the primary concern, was if one of these concepts is in the concept dictionary, then it should be extracted from the text. So we developed an algorithm to look through all of the concepts in the concept dictionary and do the string matching against the text as it comes in, and then grab those mentions of these concepts and record them in the database. But we wanted to be a little bit more versatile and not be limited necessarily to only concepts that are in the concept dictionary. So we also applied a machine learning algorithm called conditional random fields that can go through and extract strings of text, not based on any dictionary, not based on any sort of list of words, but just if it fits the pattern of a problem or treatment or a test. So if the words around it or setting it up to where it looks like it's a problem, then it'll record it as a problem. And I guess there's some configuration options for this module that can be found under System Administration, so Advanced Administration. Then here is the Visit Notes Analysis module, Administration button. And because the concepts are mapped to, because the things that are found in the text are mapped to one of 3 concepts, either problems or treatments or tests, you can use the concept dictionary classes in order to sort of do a mapping. So you can if you look at the concepts in the concept dictionary that are under the diagnosis class, and if anything in the text is found in that class, here we have it mapped to this problem, to the problem category in our module. And you can set up your list of concept classes here in order to map it to one of the three categories. What else? Oh yeah, so we also, because our module can pick out entities that may not be in the concept dictionary, we wanted to provide an interface. We wanted to provide access to all the data that is recorded in a way that you don't have to go through and write SQL scripts, because this may help to identify concepts that are being mentioned by a physician or a clinician in the text that may not have a mapping in the concept dictionary, and then potentially look into making adjustments accordingly. So we have this little report section where when you click on it, you're given a CSV file with, here we have the entity, the text itself that was found, the category that it was placed into, and then the frequency that it was found in the database. So here, respiratory insufficiency was found twice and it was labeled a problem. So that is sort of a frequency report. And then we also have just a data dump of all of the information that was found in all the notes. So here we have the timestamp we have a dump of the patient ID, the document ID, which is the timestamp, and then all of the entities that were found in that document. So a lot of this stuff can be used for further downstream analysis. We've actually been talking with some researchers who are using this information, who are using these report dumps in order to do some patient care analysis. So there's a little bit more to talk about. Like I said, the process we use to find the mentions in the text. Let me go back to the interface. So the process we use in order to find these concepts employs a sort of statistical algorithm that happens after after looking up everything in the concept dictionary. And because it's statistical, it can make mistakes. But we do provide a. I'm not going to present it here. It's detailed in the wiki page. But we do provide an interface to sort of fix the problems that the algorithm is making in order to keep it from making similar problems in the future. So if anyone's familiar with machine learning, you can sort of enhance the training set and train a new model. And we provide a standalone but companion application in order to do that. And that application does not run in OpenMRS, it runs outside. So, but it communicates with our app in order to get the information set up.
That's what the yeah. Go ahead, go for it.
Okay, so I guess that the app is, or the module is relatively simple. So this is the entirety of the interface, and
I should mention looking at concepts, it looks at synonyms as well, and so on.
Right. So as it's going through the concept dictionary and doing the string matching, it's looking for the text of the concept, but then also all of the synonyms, which means that while this right now it's tailored for the English language, if there are synonyms in the concept dictionary of another language, it'll pick those up as well. So I guess that does it for the walkthrough.
Yeah, what you used to select the algorithm, you did a lot of analysis on that. Just say about 2 words on that, okay?
Oh, right. So after the string matching portion, we have this machine learning algorithm, and we actually did an extensive performance evaluation of many algorithms. So we're not the first people to tackle this problem, and a lot of people have developed libraries and systems in order to carry out what's called named entity recognition, is the sort of the jargony term. And we did evaluate 4 different systems for this. All of them are open source and free, but we found one that was developed by University of or Arizona State University called Banner, and it blew everyone else out of the water and performed really well compared to the other systems. And the other systems are so Apache CTAKes from the Mayo Clinic, and then MetaMap from the National Library of Medicine, which are both great systems in and of themselves. But Banner happened to, but Banner from Arizona State University performed a lot better.
And those were targeted for literature searches.
Yeah, those were general. One of the reasons why we believe this thing worked better was because those were more general algorithms for literature or clinical text like we're using here.
And one other thing is the API.
Right. So we have, since the code is all open source, obviously, and we have a link to the source code in the GitHub. We have a link to the GitHub repo in the wiki. And we provide a really simple API in order to just perform this sort of analysis on arbitrary text, not necessarily through our through this interface or through the visit notes, or through entering a visit note. So you can potentially build applications on top of it that do pull out information from text and do whatever else you want to do with it. And it boils down to one simple function call that you insert a string text and then it returns a list of these entities.
Yeah. So you get
simple.
Yeah. So it's, if you want to use this algorithm in other contexts besides visit notes, you simply use that one method. You feed it the free text, and it'll come back with the information, this information that's being displayed here.
Correct.
So I think we're almost up. Is there any questions?
It's very cool. So setting up that service, you said, is that requires setting up kind of a separate server to do that?
One more time, setting up the service to.
Yeah,
sort of,
I thought I heard the implication that it's OpenMRS, and then you have kind of the service, the analysis is provided by something that's external.
No, well, actually, it's everything you've seen during this presentation is all included in it. It doesn't require installation of anything else. But if you see that it is making some mistakes or you don't like the quality of the analysis, we have a separate app that will allow you to sort of improve the quality.
Okay.
I mean,
it's not required in order to just get up and running with this.
In any of this machine learning, of course, you're going to have a training set, and then you're going to learn through use, and you want to increase the training set so it performs better. And that's what this is about.
Very cool. Very cool. Unfortunately, we have limited time. I did put a couple other questions in the notes page. So maybe you guys could, if people have additional questions, they could enter them in the Etherpad, and you guys could answer them there. But I think we do need to move on. Raf, are you or Daniel or any of the folks that are going to talk about migration to 2.0 for module authors, are you ready? I don't see Rafael. Am I missing? Yeah, it doesn't look like Rafael's on. So I'll stop asking him.
Mike had sent me a message saying he was going to have to leave at the half-hour mark, so he might not be on anymore.
Okay. All right. I'm just looking. So we have Mark and Wycliffe and Darius, and then a few other devs that I think also would be pertinent for this. So Wycliffe, do you want to walk us through this?
Wycliffe, if you're talking, you're on mute. So my understanding of the topic is that there's been a proposal for how modules can update themselves to run on platform 1.x and 2.x. Well, I guess I'm not totally clear on what we're supposed to be discussing right now.
Yeah, I think what we had from prior discussions was that there was a kind of accepted approach. I think Rafał had spearheaded it on how to manage modules. Like they started doing upgrades to modules for the reference application to run on platform 2, and there is a kind of an approach that has been worked out, and I think the intent, from my understanding, was to share that approach and make sure that folks that that are supporting modules have some, a chance to give their feedback, or if there are issues with that approach, that we hear them.
So I guess we'll schedule to present on this, because myself, I'm not prepared, so I don't know where to start.
Okay, so am I hearing that we don't have the right people here, is what it sounds like?
So it looks like we had a topic, but we did not designate someone to be the person that is going to lead this.
Yeah, I thought it was Rafał.
I agree that we don't have the right
I would
people
agree with
here.
Wycliffe. It was kind of a movement. Let's talk about it. Can we get everybody there? And everybody said yes, but we never really said who's. I said we should add the Rafał, so it seemed like he'd be the obvious one, but I don't know if we kind of also told him he should be leading it.
Yeah, he was supposed to be on the call, but I'm not able to get in contact with him now.
So I think we can probably take the. I mean, did we have some questions? Sorry, did we want to spend another couple minutes then back on the word cloud topic?
I just wanted to bring this up. I don't know if this was related to the topic we were going to be discussing right now, but it just came up. I was setting up the patient flags module, and it's going to be a part of the upcoming Google Summer of Code. So the platform is designed to run only on 1.6.x. It's not running on 1.1x, not running on 1.2.x. So it's heavily outdated. I've contacted Mark, and he said that I could, bring it up somewhere. So is there any sort of standardized way in which we can go to sort of get these modules to work on the currently supported versions of OpenMRS? I think that was the topic that was being discussed, was going to be discussed, but I think we don't have the right people. But this just came up, coincidentally. So.
Well, I guess we can answer that question. I guess if we have 10 minutes. So if there are other questions about our first two presentations, let's take at least a few minutes for if there are any additional questions there to discuss those, and then we can maybe we can circle back to your question, Shreyans. Do folks have? I know I had asked a couple. I noticed that there were misspellings, and wondering if that was a benefit of the cloud search, that it was it was detecting misspellings.
Yeah, I was just in the middle of addressing that in the notepad. Yeah, so because we're not relying completely on just string matching and looking through a list of words, it allows it to catch words that are in the place of what would be important information but happen to be misspelled. So that is a feature of our system.
And then have you guys dealt with negations?
No, unfortunately, that has not made it into the module just yet. But it's in the future plans if we continue development.
I could tell you, Burke, regards with the future development, I have another graduate student now that's going to get ready to continue with it. So. Well,
hopefully they have a really negative attitude.
Okay. Well, but what would be great is if you could post this or send an email to Ryan or me, and then we'll use that as food for thought for the next student.
Yeah, it's just a few questions I see in the notes, and those will all I'll copy them all into today's wiki page for this call.
I see one more question that you have in the notes about the period at the end of the text. In the examples I showed you, I was copying from just some sort of a standard data set, a standard set of clinical notes, and their format happens to be they happen to put a space between all punctuation. It would work without that space as long as but if you keep the punctuation in but no space, it'll be just fine.
All right. Any additional questions for Ryan, Barry, or Sergey? It looks like we'll have to reschedule the migration question. I think getting back to Shreyan's question of what if someone was looking to take an old, outdated module and upgrade it to work on contemporary versions of OpenMRS, what would be the suggestions for that approach?
Exactly what we were going to talk about if Rafa were here.
This is
No,
really
not really. I mean, Rafal was talking about how to. I think my impression was that was saying for people that are actively supporting modules, where Platform 2.0 is going to have different requirements, and so how would you factor your module? You're just saying that if we describe that would give someone clues. It seems like you'd probably have additional issues.
I think the question, the answer to Shreyan's question, I would say is that generally, first off, you presumably would like to get this module to work on the currently deployed versions of OpenMRS, so like 1.9, 1.10, 1.11.
I tried running them on both the standalone 1.11.5, 1.1.5, and the 2.3.1, and it wasn't working on both of them. So since the standalones are like a sort of benchmark for running standard OpenMRS deployments, so I figured I'd test with them, and it's not compatible with either of them.
I would say what I said in the email. I think I put it in the post. I would test if you get the 1.10 standalone, the 1.9 standalone. I think it would probably work on at least one of those. And so the first thing to do would be to figure out what version breaks it. Is it the 1.9 to 110 that breaks it, or the 1.10 to 111 that breaks it? And then we'll start looking into whatever the error message is when it runs on 111.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Maybe I can set up a talk thread for that too. Yeah,
absolutely. You said exactly what you should do, and I think that there may be somebody else people are using the module. We're not right now that may already have the answer to some of those questions already, but I do not.
All right.
Yeah. I think that people are using it. They're probably not running 1.6. They're probably getting it to run on 1.9 or 1.10.
Yeah.
And so the other thing you should do is try to make sure you can build the module against more recent versions of OpenMRS. So you would check out the code to the module, and in the pom.xml file in the root, there's a couple of variables set for the OpenMRS version. Basically, try moving that from 1.6 to 1.9 and try to build it, and then to 1.10 and then 1 to 11, and then to 1.10 and then to 1.11. But basically see because if the module doesn't build against the newer versions, then that may also indicate what the problem is.
I'm not sure what exactly you mean by building against the latest versions. I mean, I'm just following the standard procedure for installing new modules, which is, I just run npm clean. I run the clean install from Maven on the module. I get up the OMOD setup and I paste it in the modules folder, or I include it from the setup I included from the setup server. I mean, from the OpenMRS setup, I included from there. So
So when you start the talk topic, I'll reply.
yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah.
It just means, oh, sorry, not we're going all answer. It just means in the POM, change what version it builds against before you do Maven clean install. It probably says 1.6. So upgrade to 1. And that Darius's point is a good one. That's a quicker way to start figuring out what's going wrong before you have to fire it up under every environment.
Yeah, it sounds much better. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wrote one line in the notes page about that.
All right. Yeah, I'll check it out.
All right.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, folks. Sorry we didn't pull off the 2.0 upgrade, but it was kind of a tight list of agenda items, so we'll try to get that one rescheduled. All right. Any last minute comments? It looks like we'll have an equally busy set of discussions next week with an infrastructure update, an update on reference application 2.4, and a presentation from AMPATH and the work going on there. So appreciate the great presentations and discussion on today's call. It's always awesome to see what folks are doing, and I'm more and more optimistic, and as we move toward a world that is kind of REST backends with Angular front ends or similar front ends, that we are going to find more and more opportunities to share. It makes me want to double down on the kind of metadata sharing and the other approaches we have planned for helping define the not just the code and behavior, but also the metadata, forms, concepts, etc. that belong with a module. I think I just see a land of just plenty of opportunity and sharing that we can find in the roads ahead. So as Paul said, the best days are ahead of us. Thank you everyone for your presentations today. They're inspiring, and thanks for all your work. We will hopefully see you around in whether in IRC or Telegram or in OpenMRS Talk, and hopefully you guys will be able to make it to next week's call for the topics next week, and between now and then we'll see you in cyberspace.